This is Bliss Oasis. Change your thinking, change your life.
2018, we went for the closing ceremony at Writers Guild here in Nairobi. So Gabriel was asking us, what are your writing goals for next year? So I happened to just say I want to have a book by February of 2019. But then I didn't know that by saying that thing will keep haunting me. Oh, you said you'll have a book. People will ask you about the book and you do not have the book.
Yes.
So even when I was entering into employment in January 2019, I knew that I need to find time and do this. Yeah.
Welcome again to Bliss Oasis Africa, where we go out of our way to look for ordinary Kenyans who can give us their extraordinary story. Because at Bliss Oasis, we believe everyone has a story, and some of the stories can be quite interesting, can be hilarious, can be inspiring. Today, we are lucky to have Eunniah Mbabazi. She's wearing a t-shirt written with the message heart and soul. She's going to tell us about it as we go along. So Eunniah is a writer. She's also an editor in some publications, but she's going to give us those details as we go on. So join me in welcoming Eunniah so that she can tell us her story. Karibu Eunniah, how are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
Yeah, that's nice. Welcome to Bliss Oasis Africa. And I think you and I,
Thank you so much.
yeah, you and I and a few other people share the same passion, and that's why I sought you, because I know you're a writer. I'm also a writer. And I was introduced to you, or rather, you were mentioned to me by one of your friends, who is also a writer, when I invited him to speak to us. That was Hussein. Hussein, do I remember the other name? Kasim.
Kasim,
Yeah,
yes.
Hussein Kasim. So tell us a bit about yourself, where you were born, where you grew up, and then we'll continue.
Okay. My name is Eunniah Mbabazi. I'm second born in a family of 3. I was born and raised in Western Kenya. I was born in Musanda, a remote place called Musanda. And primary school, I went to Musanda Primary. Before I transferred.
Musanda is in which county? Musanda, which county?
Kakamega County.
Kakamega County.
Yes, Kakamega
Okay.
County.
Yeah.
Yes, it's past Mumias.
All right.
So yeah, but so I schooled in Musanda from class 1 to 4, and then I went to St. Anne's Girls Mumias in class 5 until class 8.
Okay.
So I think that's where I developed passion for reading, not entirely writing, but majorly reading. Because at St. Anne's we used to have, we had a really huge library at the school, and then every week we used to have library lessons, and they used to stock interesting kids' books, both English and Swahili. So
Okay.
every week for 35 minutes, you could go to the library and just read. So that's where I can say my passion for reading and books started from.
All right.
Yeah.
So exactly what kind of books were you reading then?
And then just stories, Barbara Kimenye, Moses series.
All right.
Those
Okay.
ones. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And then after class 8, I went to high school. I schooled at Lugulu Girls High School. It's in Bungoma County.
Yeah.
So at Lugulu is where my writing started. I started writing, but majorly poetry. Right from Form 1, I used to have this small notebook with a lot of poetry. So Form 1, I was writing poetry, but really not doing anything with it. And then at Form 2 and Form 3, I participated in drama festivals. I was a choral verse speaker, but the Swahili part.
All right.
I do better in Swahili than English. Most people don't know that. Yes. And this is because my dad teaches Fasihi in high school. So even when I was in primary. Is
your dad still a teacher?
Yes, he's still a teacher. He's still passionate about English, about literature. So even when I was in class 5, books like Musho wa Kosa, those ones I read at a very young age. because when people were doing them as set books, my dad used to bring them at home. And then I used to read them.
All
Yeah,
right.
so when I went to high school, I did choral verse speaking, the Swahili verses in Form 2 and 3. But then in Form 4, we are not allowed to participate. So what I did in Form 4 is I wrote an entire shairi for someone who was in Form 3, and then she went with it for the music festivals. So when that shairi was received well is when I realized, oh, this thing I have can really go a long way.
Okay.
So yeah, I think high school now cemented that I can write, and I never turned back.
But started in this poetry writing started in Form 1, as you said.
Yes, Form 1.
What triggered it? What kind of mood or something you saw somewhere or you read, and then it triggered, and you thought maybe I can, not maybe, but made you write, put in the first line?
I think in Form 1, it was just the confusion, normal confusion of Form 1s. You do not know anyone. This is a new school. And then our school had 1,000,001 rules. So you do not know which rule you are breaking. So I had a lot of things in my head, in my heart. And then even when I was writing, I had to express them. I really even didn't know it was poetry until my desk mate saw the book and told me, you write beautiful poetry. Then I realized, oh, these are poems.
Okay.
So that is how it started.
So between Form 1 and Form 3 or Form 4, when they stopped you from, or rather maybe participating, like how many poems had you written? Or pieces of?
I can't even remember the number. I just know it was when I cleared Form 4, I had these 200-page A4s. I had like 6 of them, and all of them were full.
Wow.
Yes, but unfortunately, I misplaced them.
Wow, it always happens.
Yeah, it always happens. I looked for them. I asked my mother, and she said, no, I didn't see them.
My next question was to ask whether you still have them. Okay, so they are no longer there.
No, they're not there.
But they gave you a foundation on which to continue improving and do better.
Yeah.
So what happened after high school?
Oh, after high school, I keep telling people I wanted to be a teacher of English, but they do not believe. I wanted to do English and literature at campus. But then I passed highly. I was an A student.
Oh.
So my father said,
belated congrats.
Thank you. So my dad looked at me and said, no way you're going to do English and literature with these high grades.
Oh.
So my next choice was medicine. But again, when I cleared, it was when the government introduced the double entry in universities.
Okay.
So we were a lot of people joining university. So the cutoff points were kind of high. So I didn't qualify for medicine.
Okay.
So next stop, I landed at electrical engineering.
That's what you did.
Yes, I did electrical engineering.
This is a writer doing electrical engineering. Wow.
So I joined Technical University of Mombasa in September 2012. I started electrical and electronics engineering. At first, it wasn't something that was resonating with my soul really well. But with time, you pick it up. You learn how to maneuver, and then it starts making sense.
You understanding what you are being taught. It's only that you are not interested, or rather, as you said, you're not resonating.
Yes. Even if you ask my classmates in campus, they will tell you I was almost the sharpest person in class.
Oh, okay.
I was understanding, but I was just not passionate about it. But I kept going.
Yeah.
So for first year, second year, third year, I don't think I ever wrote anything. I'm sure first year and second year, I didn't write anything. Then somewhere around third year or beginning of fourth year, I was in a certain engineering WhatsApp group for different campuses. Then one day I saw some guy had posted a link to their blog or something. So I clicked on that link. I find that this guy has built a website, and that website, he's posting his poetry there. So I see, hiya, you can be an engineer and still write, because this guy was. So I find his number and ask him.
Yeah.
I am also a poet. So could you please also build for me a website? I didn't even know about WordPress.
Okay.
But then this guy told me, have you written anything anywhere? I told him no. So he said during that time he was now transitioning the website to have more people. So if you are a poet starting out and you do not have a platform, he was ready to host you on that website.
Okay.
So that is how I landed at rapando.co.ke. People who started reading me, even some people call me Rapando because they thought the site was mine.
So that was Rapando. I think I've seen it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy was called Samson Rapando. So because the
Okay.
website was his, it was called rapando.co.ke. So that is where I started posting my poetry. Now, so for third year and fourth year until I finished fifth year, I was posting on rapando.co.ke. And then I finally transitioned to WordPress. Yeah.
Your own site.
Yes, so on WordPress, it was my own site. I started WordPress because when I was still at Rapando, someone else in the group called Nick, he looked at me and said, you're doing good poetry, but I feel if you start writing stories, they will make more sense than the poetry. Yeah, so I couldn't post stories on rapando.co because it was built for poetry. So that is why I started the WordPress. So I was posting short stories on WordPress. Yeah.
So you started your own blog?
Yes, I started my own blog on WordPress. I think that was in December of 2016. That is when my first post on WordPress went up.
That's 5 years
Either
ago.
2016 or 2017. Yes.
And what did you call it?
On WordPress, it was called mbabazi.wordpress.com.
Okay.
Yes. So on WordPress, I used to write, and now that I think one thing that rapando.co.ke helped me with is the traffic. I used to get even 1,000 views.
Wow.
Within 1 hour of posting. Yeah. So at least people knew that there exists someone called Eunniah, and this someone can really write good poetry.
1,000 likes.
Yes, within an hour, and it's not spam because the site was limited. You can't spam the comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, so even when I moved to WordPress, it was not quite a hassle to get readers because readers just moved with me to WordPress. Yes, so that is how I wrote on WordPress. And then I think in 2019 Breaking Down came out in 2019. Yes, so in early 2019, I had the envisioning of I want now to do a book because I felt I have grown. Because when I started the WordPress with the short stories, it was not as good as I am right now. It was the amateur stuff. So by 2019, I had written for 3 years. So I felt I have grown. I have interacted with people who have written. People who are good at the game have lectured me here and there. So I felt I'm ripe enough for a book. So with that, I wanted to have a credibility. I wanted to have a credible site. So I found someone who built me now a site that is not WordPress. So my current site, this one called Heart and Soul.
Heart and Soul, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was built from scratch by a friend of mine. So that when we launched Breaking
Down. Is heartandsoul.co.ke?
No, the site is called mbabaziafrica.com. That is the domain name. Yes, but then Heart and Soul is the title of the site.
Oh, I see. So it's Mbabazi
Africa.com.
Okay, you'll give us a link so that we can put it later. So you specifically did this site in order to post your short stories or just to be independent?
One thing we were envisioning with WordPress is because of too much traffic, it was taking too long to load. If I post a story today and everyone wants to see it at the same time, it hangs. So my IT guy said, if we look for a better site, if we build a better site that can accommodate traffic, so that just one click and it loads, it will be better.
All right.
So that's why we built a new site.
So by this is you said this is like 4 years ago?
The site was built in 2019, but the WordPress started in 2016.
But you're no
so
longer,
even when the site, yes?
Yeah, you are no longer in college at this point.
No, I graduated in 2018.
2018.
Yes.
And what happened after your graduation before you go to the books you've done?
After I graduated, I got an internship at the Italian Space Agency. That was in 2018. So between April 2018 and July 2018, I was interning. It was for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So after the internship ended, I was a normal Kenyan.
When you were at the Italian Space Agency, you are not normal Kenyan.
No, I had a job.
Anyway, tell us about your internship at the Italian Space Agency. First of all, tell us what it is all about for many people who don't know about it. Because me, I've only heard about it, but I don't know much about it. Do they make spaceships or what do they do?
So the Italian Space Agency is in Ngomeni. Ngomeni is off the Malindi-Lamu highway. Yes, so what it does, it's a space agency. So when it started long time ago, they used to launch rockets to space. But again, that project died. I don't really understand why it died. But then as for now, what they do now is to track satellites and to offer mission supports for these people who launch rockets. So when NASA launches a rocket, the people at the Italian Space Agency, they offer support because their satellites can see the rocket as it goes, propels.
Whatever.
Yes, so NASA, SpaceX, and also the Italians, it's run by Italians. So also Italians usually launch their rockets. So what they offer is satellite support.
It belongs to the Italian government?
Yes.
And why is it in Kenya?
It's in Kenya because Kenya, how do I explain it? We are along the equator. The equator passes through Kenya. Yes, and satellites are launched
just around
almost along the equator. Yes. Okay. So you need a telemetry station close to the equator. So Kenya is a very ideal place to have a station.
So you are there for 3 months.
Yes, I interned for 3 months.
And what are you doing
between
exactly?
April and July.
What exactly are you doing?
So, yeah, it's preparing equipment for, in case there is a launch, you are told maybe a month before the launch happens. We will launch this rocket. Maybe NASA says we will launch this rocket on this day. So what you do is you prepare your equipment, you calibrate your equipment, and so that when the rocket passes and your dish, what is it called? Your receiver. Your receiver can now capture the data.
Satellite dish.
Yes, now the dish is called a receiver. So when the receiver captures the data, and then you download the data, and then you send it back to NASA, so that NASA can now compute the flight path of the rocket. Okay. You need to help them because they cannot see the rocket from where they are.
So what were you exactly doing?
For me, when we were interning, we were not really allowed to touch the machines because it's something delicate. So what we were being shown is what to do maybe during a launch if you are the personnel in charge, how to connect the machines, how to download the data from the satellite, how, if for example, to upload commands. Sometimes the satellite is orbiting in space, and then it sends a signal that maybe the battery is low. So you need to upload a command that will command the solar panels on the satellite to open. So you are taught how to generate those commands and how to send to the satellite.
Okay, so you actually learned a few things. You are not just made them to Amkono.
No, we were not to Amkono.
Let a spanner, All right.
We did those during attachments, not internship.
So you got some experience there, and how can you utilize this experience in future or whatever you might get? Is it something?
Unfortunately, I can only use it at a space station. I can't use it anywhere.
Okay. So yeah, you are there for 3 months. Then what next? Yeah, you as a normal Kenyan now. What? Tell us what you did.
So from July, I don't even know what I was doing. I was just living and writing on my blog, because now I had not graduated, and most jobs will at least require maybe a final transcript, yes, or a graduation certificate. So, but we graduated in 2018 December. So between July and December, I was just a hanging molecule. Yes. Plus, I was also running the Writers Guild in Mombasa. So at least I had something to do and people to guide on how to write. So upon graduation in December of 2018, now the Italian Space Agency now confirmed us as now official employees. So yeah, I graduated in 2018 December, and then I started now officially working as an employee in 2019 January.
Okay, that's good. That's good. For how long?
I worked from January to end of July, 7 months.
Oh, 7 months.
Yeah.
And at what point during that employment were you doing these heart and soul and other writing stuff?
During the weekends or even during the day, because I think the good thing with Italian Space was it is not manual labor. It is just sitting in front of a computer and ensuring that you download data from the satellite. The satellite will orbit, what is it called? The period for a satellite is 90 minutes. So which means if I download the data from the satellite now that I have seen it, it will take another 90 minutes before I get some other work to do. So I had a lot of time in between to work on the blog and also to work on my first book.
Would you not be taken away so much by the writing so that it's 90 minutes and you're not aware like a satellite commander?
No, we usually work with alarms. You can't work without an alarm. You have to set an alarm.
So tell us about is that the time when you now did, because you've done I think earlier on you told me about your books. You've done a number of books, 4 books.
Yeah. Yes, 4.
3 of them are anthologies of poetry. One is a novel.
Two of them are anthologies of short stories. One of them is a collection of poetry, and then one is a novel.
So when did you start working on them, and when did you publish the last one?
Okay, so typically my first book was Breaking Down. This is how Breaking Down looks like.
Wow, okay.
So this is a collection of 11 short stories. I wrote the stories between let's say December. That period you are asking what I was doing after the internship. When I started writing.
When you are normal, you are not really normal because we have a lot of normal Kenyans who don't write. So you are beyond that. Anyway.
Yeah, so during that time, I was just writing stories for the blog, but then there were stories I was feeling they are too long for the blog. I like limiting my weekly blog posts to not more than 1,100 words.
Okay.
So if I could see a story is spanning on and on and on, I didn't put it on the blog. I set it aside. So between January and March, I think between July and December of 2018, I had written a couple of stories, let's say 4 complete ones. So between January and then in December 2018, we went for the closing ceremony at Writers Guild here in Nairobi. So Gabriel was asking us, what are your writing goals for next year? So I happened to just say, I want to have a book by February of 2019. But then I didn't know that by saying that thing will keep haunting me. Oh, you said you'll have a book. People will ask you about the book and you do not have the book.
Yes.
So even when I was entering into employment in January 2019, I knew that I need to find time and do this. Yes. So I started now writing the stories or completing the ones I had not completed. So by April, the manuscript was done. All the stories were done.
April.
Yes, April of 2019. Yes, so I found an editor. The editing was done. The cover, everything was done. So by May, the book was ready. only that a couple of my friends told me by that time in 2019, I was not as popular as maybe I am now. I don't know. So my friends told me you need to drive traffic towards this book. You need to create a certain hype around it so that people know you are here, people know you have a book that is coming out. So you cannot just go today and say, oh, here's the book. So by May we had the book, yes, we had the physical copies, but then we decided to do a 1 month of just preparation.
Do you have a copy of the book there?
Yeah, this one.
That's a novel. Is that a novel?
No, this is a collection of short stories.
And this is a book you said you do and you did.
Yes, this is it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did 1 month of just advertising because we had a physical launch on 8th of June of 2019. So between May and that June, we were just advertising, telling people there is this book. I had a small team of people who are also helping me because most of the things were being done in Nairobi, the copywriting thing, the printing, everything. And I was in Malindi. So I had a small team of people who are helping me in Nairobi. And then we officially launched it in June and it took off.
Oh.
So that is how the Breaking Down came to be.
How many stories do you have in that book?
11 stories.
Oh, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And that is the anthology of short stories.
Yeah.
So you said that at that end of the year party, you said that by the following year, you'll have a book out. Did you have the stories ready by that time?
No, I didn't even know how people write books. I had nothing. It's only that the people who were seated next to me, we were answering line one by one.
Oh.
So from my far left, people were just saying, I want a book, I want a book.
So you jumped
So I jumped into the bandwagon and said, I want a
book. And you did.
But it's funny because I thought people will forget. But even because I said I want a book by the end of February of 2019. And when the book came out in May, someone in the comments told me, but you had said February. Why did you delay? It means people did not forget.
They had listened. And I'm sure a good number of them did not even do what they.
Yeah. I think from that meeting, we were just 2 who did a book in 2019.
Yeah, that's nice. So you have 4 stories. What are they all about, briefly?
No, it's 11 stories.
11. Oh, yeah, it's okay.
11.
Is it one theme throughout or different themes?
It's not one theme throughout, but people who have read the book say that a theme that cuts across all the stories is mental health. Mental health. Of course, all the stories are super sad. There is no love. There is no hope. All the stories are, even at the cover, we wrote. My editor suggested we write these things here: sadness and pain, freedom and peace, life and death. Because the book doesn't have any happiness. So people who read the book said a theme that cuts across everything is people struggling with their mental health.
And why did
because
you do
there
that?
Is a story. I don't know. It's just my style of writing. I seem to not know how to write happy stories. So I just find myself writing sad stories.
On tragedies.
Yes, I thrive on tragedies.
And you have never had a tragedy happening in your life before?
No,
people you know?
No, of course, some people I know. Because even in the book, there are themes like death. Of course, everyone has encountered someone who has died, a friend or a colleague. Yeah.
Okay. So you also have poetry books. You said 3?
No, poetry is just one.
Okay. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
And it's called what? My what?
If My Bones Could Speak.
Wow. And again, bones. I mean, when you have bones, all right, we all have bones, but normally we see the bones after somebody is no longer there.
Yes. And even from the cover, you can see the bone. The bone is broken,
It's broken. Yeah, it's almost sad.
Brokenness in here.
Sadness. Tell us about it. How many poems are there?
If My Bones Could Speak came out last year, 2020. in end of July. I intended it to come out March, but then because I wanted to do a physical launch, but then Corona came in March.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I didn't know how long Corona will take. I assumed it will take maybe at most 3 months. So I kept postponing the release of the book. We will do it next time, until my editor sat me down and said, "You will postpone this thing until the
Forever.
world ends. Yes, just do it the way you can."
Instead of when Corona ends,
Yes,
you
because we
postpone
do not
until the
know.
world ends. All right.
So we released it in July, I think on July 28th. So the thing with Breaking Down, we did a physical launch, which really helped to propel it into the market. But for this poetry book, I didn't do a physical launch because, again, Corona. So I just released it on Facebook. But something that helped me is between 2019 and 2020, when the book was coming out, I had built a lot of traffic on my
On your
social media
site, so
account.
people know you already.
Yeah, so people know me already. So it was not hard to push the book. Yeah.
So were these poems, did you write these poems specifically for the book, or is it some poetry you've done before and you just put them together?
No, what I do with poetry is poetry just comes, poetry is not like a story. For a story, I sit down and try to think how to take it. Yes, but for poetry, it just hits me. I can just wake up and I have a whole verse in my head that is not going anywhere. So I put it down. So how the book came out is I had a lot of those poems in my drive, and I was wondering, what am I doing with these ones? So on 1st January, I texted a friend of mine and asked them, what do you think if I do a poetry book? Do you think people will buy? Because there is this notion in Kenya that poetry books don't sell.
It's true.
Yeah, so my friend told me, what do you have to lose? If you put it out there, what do you have to lose?
Yes.
You'd rather put it out there and then it fails rather than you do not put it out there.
And you wouldn't know how to be done.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. So that is how I compiled and it was ready. I didn't struggle with the book actually. It was just like
it just
this.
flew. It just flowed out of you.
Yeah.
All right. So how is it doing?
The poetry one is doing really well. As I said, I don't really market that one because it just sells on its own. I think because of two things. I made a few errors with my first edition of Breaking Down.
Okay.
Because I was new in the market, I didn't know how these things are done, especially the design, the layout, the cover. The cover is nice, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, okay.
So when I was doing the second book, I put these errors in my mind, at the back of my mind. I knew what I wanted. So we got what we really wanted. Okay. So even if you ask people, they just tell you the cover sells itself. But
then again, yeah, because you can see the broken bone, and then words coming out.
Yeah, so this one just flies off the shelf by its own. If I post on Facebook, sometimes I can post even I am selling Breaking Down, and so when people come now, they order two of them at once. They don't order one.
So which of those were self-published? Because
both.
All right, so you do the marketing yourself.
Yes, I do the marketing myself.
And you already have a following, so
yeah, so it's not hard.
It's not really high. How many likes do you have on your Facebook?
What do you mean, likes or friends?
How many friends? Okay.
I reached the maximum friends. So I have 5,000 friends. So that is the maximum Facebook allows. And then, so if I reach the maximum, the rest become followers. So I have, let me just confirm. I have, I think, 3K followers. Yeah, I'm followed by 3,126 people. So that is a cumulative 8,126.
That's good.
So it's not hard to sell to 8,000 people. They will not buy all of them, but they will know I have a product. So
I'll send you a friend. I'll send you. You already. I think I'll become a follower because you already have 5,000.
Yeah.
Yes. So you also did a novel.
Yes. This is the novel. This one is not self-published. This one was published. Yes, this one was published by Hekaya Initiative.
So tell us about it.
Oh,
Kaskazi.
Hekaya. Oh, I have found something else I was doing before I graduated when I was an
All right.
person.
Tell us.
I was writing Kaskazi. Only that it
Kaskazi.
came out
Kaskazi
later.
is what? Is Kaskazi north in Kiswahili? Kaskazini?
Yes,
Mm.
Kaskazi is not.
So Kaskazi, what were they doing?
Okay, Hekaya had this idea that stories from the coast are not really being told well, apart from the wazee wa kitambo wa Mombasa.
Kina
Stories
Shaban
from the
Robert,
coast.
Junani.
Yes. So Hekaya felt that stories from the coast are not really being told. They have a really rich story.
Okay.
So what they did is they planned to have a story that cuts across the whole coastline, not entirely Mombasa, not only Mombasa.
Oh yeah.
It was Mombasa, Pemba, Zanzibar. It was the North Coast. That is why it's called Kaskazi.
Kaskazi.
So the story spans across Mombasa, ukipanda hivyo na hiyo coastline.
Like the 10-mile strip, ile ya Warabu.
Yeah. So Hekaya, what they did is they had the plot, they had the characters, they knew where the story, maybe how the story should go, but then now they were looking for writers who can now write the story. So I had happened to meet Abu Amira during one of the Writers Guild meetings in Mombasa. So when the project started, I'm the first person he contacted, and he asked if I can write, because they did English and a Swahili version. Hussein wrote the Swahili version. I wrote the English version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not the only one who wrote the book. We are a couple of writers. I can't remember the exact number.
So the book is actually a collection of stories about Kaskazi.
No, it's a novel. It's a continuous story, but written by many people. So what they were doing, tulikuwa tunapangishwa numbers. So number 1, let's say we are 10 authors. I'm not sure about the exact number.
Yeah.
So you have number 1 up to 10. So they give you a synopsis of the story. Everyone has the synopsis. So the main character moves, let's say Patrick moves from Mombasa. Patrick is a guitarist. He goes to Pemba. He meets Maimuna, like that. So the first person, you write the story the way you think it should go, and you pace it as much as you can, because this has to be a novel. And then the first person finishes, it goes through an editor, they see, and then they send it to the number 2. Now I was number 2. So what I did is, you read what number 1 has written, and now you take it from there. It has to flow, it has to continue. So when I finish, we send it to the editor, and then it comes back. So number 3 reads what number 1 and 2 have written, and then they continue from there. So it's one continuous story, but written by different authors. You can't even know where your part of the story is, but it's there.
So
they did.
By the time the 10th person, or whatever the last person is doing, by the time he's getting the work, the manuscript, he'll have to read from the beginning up to that point, and then continue.
Because you need to know, what the characters did. You need to read the whole of it. So this Kaskazi was supposed to be my first book, but because it started in 2018 around October. But then it took a lot of time, because we are a lot of writers. The editors did a lot of work. So it spanned until 2020. We launched it in March of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't have your own kind of novel that you have done or you're planning to do?
No, unless it just comes out. Because I have never understood how people write one continuous story.
Because you are a poet.
I think I'm a poet, and the best I can do is short stories. But maybe someday I'll do a novel. I'm not sure.
Well, there are people who are novelists and they don't know how poets do it.
Yes. I have a friend of mine who is a novelist, and he does not know how to write anything below 40,000 words.
Imagine. I started off as a short story writer. Then I discovered poetry. I do a bit of that, but my main line is novels.
Oh.
And it's just there. I mean, it just works out.
I respect people who write novels.
Well, we also respect you. Yes, so can you pick one of your best poems there and let's hear it. Recite for us your best or any poem.
Oh, hey, do I have a base?
And tell us a bit about it before you read it.
I think my best poem is just one line, so I don't want to read a one line poem. Yes.
Wow.
So I'll read an alternative one.
Do
An
this,
alternative one.
Do this. Read the alternative one. After you've done the alternative one, read us that one line.
Okay, so
Right.
So the book has 86 poems. So I'm reading poem number 41.
All right. What is it called?
My poems don't have titles.
They don't
They're
have
just
titles.
poems.
They're just numbers.
Yes, inside the book looks like this. So that is poem number 41.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear number 41.
May you find a home within the burnt chambers of yourself. May you find a home in the people you call yours, the ones you give your all to. May you find a home within the spaces of your world, within the abyss that is life. May you find a home in the places you adore, those which scream of peace, calm, happiness. May you find a home even when everyone else's home is burning down into ashes. May you find a home whenever you need it most, when beaten, scared, or hurt. In your home, I hope you find happiness and contentment. That is poem number 41.
Wow, sounds like some blessings or some best wishes.
Someone told me that my poems sound like prayers. And I told them, I think so also.
Actually, prayers. Okay, fine. Let's hear the one liner.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, poem number 61. It reads, happiness is a cult, break away. This is how it looks like. I don't know if it will focus.
Wow, yes. Wow, what is that all about? Happiness is a cult.
Yeah. Break away. If you get used to happiness, you'll it's like a cult. You really cannot get out of it. So itafika time unafaa usikie huruma and you're not feeling it.
You're reminding me of guys who laugh in a funeral.
Yes. Like those people. They're actually sad, but they cannot
bring it out. The only way they express it by laughing and then it's life, because you can also find guys who cry at weddings.
Yeah.
So it's all life, it's all cult. Yeah, so what are you doing now? Don't tell me you're a normal person. You must be doing something.
Right now,
as far as
I left my job at the Italian space in end of July of 2019. And then I started working at the Kenyan Wall Street as a content creator for business news.
Kenya Wall Street.
Yes. So I worked as a content creator from August of 2019 until I think April of 2020. And then I was made an assistant editor for the business news at Wall Street still. And then by the end of last year, I was made an editor, now a chief editor.
That's good.
So currently, thank you.
Tell us some of those normal Kenyans who don't know what Kenya Wall Street is all about. Can you tell us what it is?
Kenyan Wall Street it's an online journal for business news only. I know most people know about the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
That one for the US.
Yeah.
Yes. So ours is Kenyan. So we write business news. I know people know of Business Daily.
Yes.
African Business. So it's something like that.
And how did you connect with them from the space agency to writing business news?
Yeah, it is the thing with life. I usually tell people I hated business. You see, when you go to Form 1, we were given a list of subjects to choose. So I think they were 10 subjects. You're supposed to choose 2 and leave out the rest. Business was the first thing I dropped. Cancelled business.
Yeah.
But then after I quit my job at the Italian space, I needed to find something else I can do. So at that time, I saw an advert. The Wall Street had put out an advert but the advert just said they're looking for writers, people who can create content. That is something I can do. Yes,
Okay.
they didn't specify that they're looking for business writers. So even when I was writing my application later, I mentioned that I have even published a book because Breaking Down had just come out a month before.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got to the interview, and then suddenly these people are saying, we are looking for business writers.
How did you react to that?
I was shocked. I don't know anything about business at all. But I was honest with them. I told them, I know how to write. I am 100% sure I know how to write. But when it comes to business. I know zero. I remember when I left the interview, I went to see a friend of mine and told them, I really don't think I was the person they were looking for. Because even after they realized I do not know business, I think the interview officially ended. Now we started just making stories. Yeah, but then after a week, they sent me an email and said, I have demonstrated, I know how to write, and they think writing business is something I can be taught. So that is how I got it.
So you got the job. That's good. That's good. When was this? How long have you been there? August last year.
Since August 2019. No, 2019.
We've been there for almost 2 years.
Yes.
That's nice. And so, you're working on more poetry?
I'm working on
something that can't stop coming out of you.
Poetry will just come in a snap of a finger. But I'm working on. I have actually done a children's book, an English children's book. It's only that I don't know what to do with the manuscript. I'm confused because I don't know what people do with children's books.
Yeah.
So I just have it somewhere in my drive.
I'm sure you'll get a publisher.
Yeah. So right now I'm working on another collection of short stories. I had intended it to be a spin-off for Breaking Down, but I'm not sure how that will turn out. But it's also a collection of short stories. And we didn't talk about this.
When a Stranger Called, another story. That's yours.
No, this is not entirely mine. We also did with a number of people. We are 13 Kenyan writers. But now the difference is these ones are short stories. So everyone has their own independent.
And who published that one? Writers
It's
Guild?
also self-published. You know Munira Hussein?
Name sounds familiar, but I don't think that we've met.
She's also a member of Writers Guild. She's also in
Mombasa.
No, she's in Nairobi.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll meet one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was actually there at the caravan.
She was. I think so. I remember seeing there was a lady who was fasting. I think it was Ramadan time.
Yes.
And when we were eating, she was locked somewhere in the vehicle, and tulimsikilia huruma, but we ate on her behalf, I think. I think I remember her. So, self-publishing is not easy.
No. I don't know. I think it's easier. I think both types of publishing have their pros and cons. Pros. Let me talk about self-publishing because that is what I know entirely. Pros of self-publishing is you get to handle everything on your own, which can be a pro and both a pro and a con.
Yes.
So you get to handle everything. You do everything on your own. You apply for ISBN, copyright. You source for a layout guy, designers, printers, editors on your own. Yeah. So if you're not connected, like I was during my first book, it's really hectic if you're doing all that on your own. But then I think another pro, which can also be a con, is you finance everything on your own.
Again,
if the editor asks you for 100,000, you look for 100,000 on your own. If the printer asks you for another 100,000, you cannot tell them at print and then I will pay you after I sell the copies. You cannot. I think the most pro thing about self-publishing is once you start earning, the entire money is yours.
That is the beauty. That's the beauty of it, because if you are known and your work is doing well, you just earn.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just earn. you're selling the book at 1,000, hiyo yote ni yako. You decide how to use
it's
your
true.
own. Yeah, so but then I think a difficulty which I think traditional publishers have a leverage over self is the marketing bit.
Yeah.
Because as I said earlier, you do everything on your own. For me, most of my marketing, I do it on Facebook. Here on the ground, I've just recently established connections with other people, like people who buy books on the ground, and maybe they go to sell elsewhere, or they take them to libraries. Yeah, but then once you master how to market your books, I think everything is okay. Another con of self-publishing is, unless you're a big name, like because Zulu is a big name, most of these bookshops will not stock your books.
Bookshops starting to take your books.
Not the big ones. The small ones have my books, but the big ones, no. The big ones
wanataka kukuona kwa gazeti.
Wanataka kwanza wajue I am a household name.
Yeah.
Everyone is asking for my book.
But I think is it Naivas have started asking even Kenyan writers
Naivas, put out a call. I know 2 friends who have already taken their books. They received calls on Friday, wakapeleka jana. So at least I know the Naivas thing is working.
Yeah, it's working.
Because these big bookshops, but I understand it because there's a bookshop which told me that they're willing to stock the book, but that means they'll have to stock every other self-published author who comes. So the problem is with the logistics. Because if we are published, let's say me, you, and Hussein, all 3 of us are published by, let's say, Longhorn. So when the bookshop is handling logistics, they just deal with one person, Longhorn. But if we are self-published, they deal with Eunniah independently, Patrick independently, Hussein independently. It's a lot of work. So they just say, that is a lot of work. Unless you're a big...
Even I've noticed, even me, I've never done self-publishing because all of my books are by traditional publishing. But you can go to some bookshops and they don't have your book. Wanakwambia hatujasikia watu wakitafuta hiyo kitabu. So
yes, they also
so even publishers are not doing enough marketing. That's another, con as far as
yes.
Yeah, because the only traditional publishers usually focus on school books, and if yours is not recognized, or what do you call it, a set book, they may not rush to take it over there. Yes, so there are many writers in quotes who have not even started writing, but they say they would like to be writers, and they wonder how to go about it, and wanasema tunajisikia niko na hii, but they have not even held the pen to start writing. What would you tell them?
People who ask me that thing, I usually just tell them the secret is to start. We cannot help you if you have not started. We cannot guide you if the story is still in your head. First, start putting your thoughts or your stories in words. Write them down. Have something so that even if you're asking, what do I do with this thing? Now we can guide you. But if you're feeling like you can write and your story is in your head, because I know even me, I have stories in my head.
Yeah. Everybody have their stories. I mean, everybody have stories in their head.
I have a complete book in my head.
Yes.
So, but you cannot sell your thoughts to people.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
Yeah,
you cannot put them in a bag and send them somewhere.
So the easiest way to just take off is to start writing first.
Start immediately. Yeah.
I have seen people who come to my inbox and say, I also want to do a book. Now, how does someone write a book? I don't think they teach someone how to write a book.
No, they can never.
If you want to write a book,
you can never be taught. You have to start first. Then after starting, then you'll be told, do it this way or do it that way.
Yes.
But you cannot want. There's no wanting. It's just doing. Just like trying to do something. You don't try. You do it. You go ahead and do it.
Yes, so that is usually my first advice. I usually tell people, you go and start writing. Once you start, then come back. I will help you. But if the thoughts are still in your head, there is nothing I can do about it.
Okay. So people say, there's this belief, you also said it, you mentioned it earlier, that people don't read poetry. Yeah, I'm saying that. People don't read poetry. Do they?
I think that is false. They do. As per my book, I know people read poetry.
Because you are selling a lot of copies.
Yes, I think they only need to resonate with your poetry. And also, I think people have this mentality, the poetry readers, most people encountered poetry, that one in high school. Who is the persona? Siju, who is speaking?
Yeah. And they are
very hard.
And they are forced to read them. I mean, they may not be interested, but they are forced.
Yeah, but you're forced. Yeah. So if someone hears that you've written poetry, that is the first thing that comes into their mind. Yeah. It will be, you see, like in high school, you could see a poem is talking about, let's say, a cup. The cup has broken, something has happened. And then in the questions, you're asked who is speaking. Then the marking scheme is saying at a heartbroken girl. So you wonder, where is the girl? I am seeing a cup. So I think people people think that even we who are writing poetry now, we are writing in that same way.
Yes.
But then once they realize that you're writing about things that they can see, things they can understand,
and I think the other problem was, as we just said, those days, even now, a whole classroom, mtaenda kufanya literature, and some of them may wish to be doing woodwork or something else. And but if it is possible to put together people who like literature, peke yao ndio waende wakasomeshwa poetry, I think that would be different. Otherwise, people would be talking like, who reads poetry? Yeah. So any last word before we end interesting talk?
Last words.
Yeah.
I think books entirely and literature as a sector, I think it's something that is too beautiful to not be appreciated. If someone is out there and they want to write or they want to get into the books industry, they should just start. It's not hard. It's really not hard. At least now that you know people who can help you. I know. Yes. I was helped by a stranger, so I don't think anyone can get stuck. So people should just write. We need more literature. We need Kwanza Kenyan literature so that we get to where international literature is.
Yes, and I agree with you, because you walk the streets of Nairobi, in the pavement, you see a lot of foreign literature, which is selling there. And if it is selling, it means people are reading.
Yes, it means Kenyans are readers. There is this notion that Kenyans do not read. Kenyans read a lot. Yeah, so what we need really then again is, apart from more writers, we need more promotion about the books that we have already done, the poetry that we already have, so that those Kenyans who are reading that foreign material can read something that is made by their own Kenyan, their own colleagues. I mean, Kenyans who have material which resonate with their everyday circumstances. Yeah. So I should say I'm very grateful to have hosted you. Bliss Oasis Africa. And I think, like other listeners, I think I'm quite impressed by the kind of work you have done. And I think I came across one of your books when I visited the Writers Guild. I was there once and I saw your book, only that I didn't take a copy. I should have taken. Maybe I'll organize to collect one. Okay. Again, the advice you have given about writing, people should not just talk about it, that they want to do it, but they should go ahead and start. Then from there, we can help them. So thank you very much. And hopefully soon again, we'll meet here or elsewhere so that we can continue talking about literature. Yeah, thank you for having me. Okay, kwaheri and God bless. God bless you too. Thank you. Thank you for being with us until the end.
Bliss Oasis Africa offers the following services: counseling and life coaching, mentorship in creative writing, publishing and consultancy, website development and digital marketing. Please visit us at our website www.blissoasis.co.ke for more information. You can also call or send us a WhatsApp message on 0722 563 544. Thank you.